Alright guys, welcome to Game 5 of the Pulse vs. Light series here at the Zeke Pro League. Spawning here at the bottom left corner of the map, we've got the very strong Protoss, the blue Protoss, Sunlight.
And the challenger spawning in the top right-hand position of Daybreak, it is the red Zerg. His name is a barcode, but it really is Kane for Pulse.
Yeah, I believe it's actually Kane SC2 as his full thing. I'm not too sure, but at least that's what he's registered as, so...
In-game chat confirms it's Kane.
Shh, it's a secret though. So another ZVP coming up. Sunlight been displaying a very strong prowess. I mean, he's got his ZVP, his ZVT, or sorry, not ZV, PVZ, PVT, and we'll see if he can keep up the PVZ in this matchup.
Indeed, but he's gonna have his... Dude, he's gonna have his hands full if this is actually Kane, like, you know, Kane from, like, the Brotherhood of Nod. I would not mess with that guy.
That guy is bald and scary, Tony.
He is. That is an awesome villain.
Well, I believe both these players, definitely, if anyone hasn't seen Tesseract play Kane in the past, he's definitely one of their stronger players on the team. So for them to be pulling them out, they're a little worried about Sunlight. But rightly so, because this is a best of 9, and he's getting very close to that 5-win mark.
Yeah, doesn't Sunlight have a hat-trick right now?
Yes, actually, 3 games in a row have been his. And we do see Kane going for pool first.
Very, very standard in Zerg vs. Protoss, as we mentioned in a few games ago.
Meanwhile, back at home, Sunlight probably going to just do your atypical, you know, there's a pylon out here ready to set up his Sim City. And on a map like Daybreak, it's very comfortable. You don't have to worry about a lot coming to you early on, regardless of what Kane decides to do. Meanwhile, there's a little bit of dancing going on at the natural.
Please don't do that ever again, Riffles.
Done. Alright, so the hatchery does go down, and Sunlight is going to be forced to return home with that probe. End of the harassment. And I do have to comment here, I've seen, not often, but some really good cannon harass in the past from really pro players. I mean, this is the difference, we talked about this briefly before, there's a fine line between harass and rushing, or cheesing.
Yep.
And one of the things I do love seeing is some cannon harass. For very low cost minerals, you can completely deny a natural. But it doesn't feel like we're going to see that from Sunlight anytime soon.
Yeah, we see him go for that Nexus first, actually the epitome of Protoss greed in this opener.
No, I did go Forge first before Nexus, so I mean, you call it greed, but this is
really?
about as
I'm
safe
pretty sure he
as
went
standard.
Nexus then Forge.
Oh, okay, well whatever.
Yeah, I checked the build times. That's as greedy as you can get with this, but... You know, it's a calculated risk. With
only a couple of Zerglings on the field, though, I don't think he's got anything to worry about. And Kane actually looking to take that early third, which is a very appropriate response to just assuming the Protoss player does this every game. I mean, this is that metagame. Like, who doesn't do this at this stage in StarCraft? So if you're a Protoss player playing against Zerg, 99% of the time, this is what you'll see.
Exactly, and we got this Overlord to check out the gas timings.
Yeah, just kind of poking, not too close. You can't run away if any stalkers were out on the field already. But not going to be the case. The Cybernetic score only just going down. And again, I want to commend Sunlight placing this in base. No real chance of losing it.
Yeah, that core, that's a very nice little stylistic thing of his. We've seen that 2 games in a row from him now against Zerg, so I like that little touch. It makes him a little bit more vulnerable early on, but you know, in the later plan, he's got a more secure opener.
Well, it's funny because last game we saw, we could talk about how defense was something in the main base can be, but last game we saw, I believe, 6 Forges and 3 Templar Archives, so it doesn't guarantee safety, but it is just better than having it in that SimCity wall.
Zerg doesn't have dropships. Oh wait, for 200 minerals, 200 gas, their supply depots turn into dropships.
Nerf, please.
Yeah, I mean, really.
Zero?
Come on, guys.
0 supply cost dropships? I mean, it doesn't get more overpowered than that. Not to mention a Nidus Worm as well. Good golly gosh, Blizzard, what were you thinking?
Now, if only that creep that the Overlords could spew healed really quickly, like Medivacs.
Oh, I'm sure it will in Heart of the Swarm with all these balance changes. The only way to deal with Widow Mines, can't burrow on a creep or something.
Oh no.
But we do have a Zealot poking up here, and 1 Zealot versus 1 Queen. I believe the Zealot actually wins.
Really?
I don't quote me on that, because it's always close and usually someone runs away, so the DPS is kind of lost, but 2 Zerglings out, doesn't matter now. Zealot will be forced to run, and Overlord coming into the natural of Sunlight, scouting everything he can. There's nothing here to oppose him. Twilight Cancel and another Forge on the way. A little out of sight, but it should still get scouted.
I believe this is the exact same opening that Sunlight used against Echo on Ohana.
I believe
It looks
so.
very similar.
This Overlord, though, getting some critical information. I wanted to go north so badly to see that Robo confirm that it's down.
It almost sees it.
It's so close.
It might seize it. There, it sees it.
There we go, yes. It does confirm
This
that.
Overlord's going to get out.
Sentry DPS very low. And
That
Overlord
Ninja
speed
Overlord.
so fast. So we do have Observer coming out first. It is in fact even being chronoed out. And I mean, really, just both these players. Not a lot of aggression. Pretty standard play. Pretty safe play. Gearing up for that mid-game, late-game scenario.
Kane's got a similar opening to what Echo had as well. He's going for the Roach. He's going for +1. He's going for Lair. If he's following in his predecessor's footsteps, he's going to be getting Roach speed as soon as his Lair finishes, and is going to look to put on some pressure with that. Another Evo Chamber. There's Roach speed. Wow, he just canceled missile attacks and is going for melee attacks now. And he's going for that Infestation Pit immediately.
Yeah, I like that choice. It does kind of indicate that he's looking for a late-game out if this mid-game Roach push does not work.
Yeah, he's just going for Infestor Ling on the back of this Roach push to put some pressure on. Maybe even snipe the third in a best-case scenario. Does he know about the third, though? He sees a pylon, so he can assume it's there. Well, he actually doesn't see the pylon, but there is a blue blip on his map.
You know, Roaches are pushing out, and just to double-check, I'm coming up on 925 right now.
About the same.
Cool, cool. So there's quite a few Roaches and Zerglings posturing about. There's not a lot for Sunlight to do other than warp in to respond to this, but this Immortal, this was the one place that you don't want to poke in at, and that's where the Immortal in the army is.
A very good decision to put that there, because we do have the 3 beefy building wall in, backed up by a cannon and a Zealot blocking that little gap. And he is going for Charge Zealots again, and Templar Archives, so it looks like we're going to see maybe Immortal Zealot Archon or something kind of cool like that out of him yet again. That was a really interesting composition, a lot of charge lots against it.
A huge amount of slots, I believe it was almost 40 at one point.
Yeah, that was a ton of them. But we do see Infestors, and Fungal Growth holding those Zealots in place is going to be pretty effective.
Yeah, Armor Tech level 2 on the way for the Protoss player, which is going to help so very greatly against Zerglings.
That's actually, yeah, that's +3 at weapons already on the way, so he's being really speedy with these upgrades.
Charge and nearing completion. It should be up by the time Kane does decide to hit. I'm trying to follow this Zergling army as he's poking around here, but he's also going for a 4th behind this too. So I mean,
can't blame him. Look at his economy. He's going to go up to 96 drones, or 86 drones.
There's so little that's been going on in this game, though. I mean, this is 11 minutes where we've had no real aggression from either player, and that's pretty shocking in a PvZ.
Yeah, normally they're not quite this passive, and there's a Spire going down, so will we see Mutalisks, or will we see the Greater Spire? It depends on this hive timing.
Almost guaranteed going Greater Spire. Yeah.
Yep, there's Greater Spire. If he didn't get the hive, then it was going to be Mutalisks, which is kind of odd.
Well, it was his choice to cancel the +1 range and go for the melee. That kind of indicates he's going for Broodlords at some point.
Yes, or Ultras.
Well, it's a little harder to use Ultras against a Protoss army, though. Broodlords, I mean, the only thing that can stop them are the Stalkers, and they're actually kind of susceptible to Broodlords. Not to mention, throw a couple Fungals on there, too. No blinking whatsoever.
Looks like Kane has learned from the mistakes of his,
and catching these High Templar, they can't even warp into an Archon.
Yeah, killing 2 of them for nothing, really.
Might actually even get a 3rd here. Fungals going down on most of this army, and a lot of Infested Terrans coming out.
He got some feedback, so these Infestors are out of gas for the most part. Wow, the Immortal picks off one as he comes up from the side.
It's just kind of funny, both players losing almost equal amounts of units there. Or not, sorry, units, resources lost. But the Zealots do prevail with that charge. Very, very strong.
Yeah, but this Greater Spire is going to happen, and unlike the last time we saw this build, it looks like the Broodlords are going to get out in time to stop this.
But more Infestors trying to ditch stuff here. Fungling, no charge from the Zealots. But I think he's about out of fungal energy. He used a lot of it on those Infested Terrans earlier.
He has 1 more fungal now in his army.
Just doing some hit and run. I like that choice here because he is maxing behind this. Look at this. Already 200 with Sunlight is down to 130. And with a lot of his High Templar picked off, he doesn't have the energy to do things like Storm and feedback. But he does get some nice feedbacks on those Infestors.
Yeah, preventing further fungals. I believe only one of them has enough energy for a fungal, but there's just too many Roaches here pushing this army back. You can't lose these Immortals. But while all this is going on, it's just buying him time to get
Oh,
those
but the
critical
two
Brood Lords out.
Archons coming from behind will be able to equalize these forces. Splash damage versus biological is just huge.
Archons aren't as effective against roaches as you think they'd be, but yeah, here come the reinforcements. And
with the immortal support, I mean, 20 and 16 kills apiece. He is doing work on this roach push.
they are, but it's really inconsequential at the end of the day because these roaches are actually pushing him back and buying him time for that greater spire. Like, that's their only purpose in life.
Yeah, indeed. And oh no, one of the immortals falls, the other one getting away with 12 health remaining. And
Lucky immortal right there.
There are not enough sentries on the field right now. Yeah, a couple force fields cutting this off, but I mean, that's about it. There's not a lot more to follow this up. And they're just going to push
Does he not
Kane
know
back.
about this? He doesn't know about any of this, and yeah, Kane is just going to get this greater spire up undetected. And that's really huge because sunlight's just warping in zealot
And
after zealot.
we don't even have Blink being researched. He's going to have no way to deal with these Broodlords whatsoever.
His upgrades are fantastic, but that's not going to do you much when you've got really good charge zealots against Broodlords.
Yeah, and coming up on 1530 here, we do see Kane posturing to do another strike. But he does have the Corruptors out on the field, likely just going to move them across so he can safely morph them in over here, rather than because they're so slow.
Yeah, that's always a good choice. He's going for a really quick Broodlord push here.
This is unfortunate because, like, with no Storm, no Blink, and very low Stalker count, oh, and sniping that Observer too, he has no idea these Broodlords are coming. I mean,
Yeah, great denial of information.
I'm sure Sunlight, being a pro player, does have indication that they're coming at some point, but not at 16 minutes, not when he's seen so many roaches non-stop.
9 Broodlords.
Oh, all the Corruptors now. So the unfortunate thing for Kane is he does have no anti-air, but I mean, what Protoss is going to have Void Rays and Phoenixes out? Especially especially when you've been funneling Zealots all game.
Yep. And it looks like these Broodlords are just going to completely eclipse Sunlight right here unless he can pull something out of his hat. Storm is finished.
Yeah, that will help. I mean, Storm does not do a lot of damage versus Broodlords, but they are too slow to really move out of it, so they're forced to eat it. 2 Storms going down, taking about a third of the health off. He's going to need a few more Storms to really make this effective. As
two Broodlords fall.
And you're a little bit ahead of me, Garyoak, but that's fine. 2 Broodlords, of course, very low as well, but he's out of Storm energy, and that's critical. Because again, he has no anti-air to deal with this. Warping in a couple Stalkers, but I mean, for what? There's no Blink attached to them. Research only just starting, and Sunlight in a lot of trouble. More Storms going down. Oh, and these Broodlords are still so low.
They're just not enough. He doesn't even have Queens to transfuse at this point, which he should, but it doesn't really matter. These Zerglings are free to just ravage the space.
Yeah, if he takes out this third, this is really going to cripple Sunlight's economy.
Yeah, and he's got his 5th base mining behind this.
Not to mention, Kane has a beautifully huge bank behind all this, and he is maxed out, so he doesn't even need to use any of the resources right now.
Yeah, this is a perfect position for a Zerg. He's got +3
Sunlight going for a counterattack, though. A lot of Zealots charging in with Immortals to follow it up. And with those Broodlords away, this is going to become a base race, but if that's the situation, Sunlight has no way to compete with this massive Zerg army.
Indeed, this might become a base trade, very fitting, seeing as we are on base trade TV.
Broodlords are actually being rallied home, but I'm not sure the cost of it will be worth it. They're just so slow. Meanwhile, we do have roaches. There's so few warp-ins. Everything that Sunlight has is being annihilated right now.
Yeah, he feels that these Zerglings are enough to dispose of this base, these Zerglings and roaches, so he can send the Broodlords home because he has to kill the Protoss army. If he can kill the army, he wins. And he's got a lot of Infestors, and those Infestors will be worth their weight in minerals when...
Blink is finally finishing, but there's just such a low Stalker count on the field. You won't even be able to blink under these... and they're being picked off with those Fungals, too.
13 Stalkers only against all those Broodlords. There's a blink, actually, and these Broodlords are a little bit unprotected.
Yeah, Sunlight trying to do what he can, but he's just surrounded by a combination of Zerglings and Broodlings. He does annihilate the Broodlords, however, at what cost? Looking back at home, there's nothing for Sunlight to deal with. He's going to lose all of his buildings. This bottom right base has a lot of Spine Crawlers coming down.
Yeah, that little victory there felt like, you know, Frodo throwing the ring in Mount Doom only to come home and see the Shire completely in flames and Saruman sitting there enslaving all the hobbits.
I love you, Garyoak. You're such a nerd.
Thanks.
Yeah, meanwhile, there's still a lot of Zerglings, and these Zerglings are actually doing work on the Stalkers as a lot of the Zealots have finally been cleaned up, and Zealots were the only thing stopping the Zergling from swarming in. Oh, but nice Blink does get them away.
no probes
But at
left
what
either.
cost?
Can't
Because
rebuild.
as these few gateways die, this will be the end of Sunlight's reign of terror.
And there it is. I believe he just got eliminated. GG.
Yeah, not even a chance for a GG.
I've never actually